Well, aren't you a regular Nancy Drew?
I learned that from the Nancy Drew detective.
Okay, go.
You think you can follow the clues and solve the case of the missing condiment, Nancy Drew?
Because I've read every Nancy Drew mystery ever written.
Nancy, please tell me you're joking.
Wow, you suck at this Nancy Drew stuff. You should get a new hobby.
My name is Carson Drew, and this is my assistant, Nancy.
Nancy Drew.
It's curtains for you, Miss Drew.
Nancy Drew strikes again.
A regular Nancy Drew.
Well, hello, regular Drews.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back. This is episode 135, so a little bit of a special episode for us.
Mm-hmm.
And to cap off our section of the files, we are going to be covering another super mystery. Get excited.
And none other than the first super mystery.
Yeah, double crossing.
Mm.
Before we get into double crossing, do we want to do our revise, keep, revise, giveaway, delete?
Absolutely. I forgot. I completely forgot. Okay, so what are we working with this time? We have Circle of Evil, which was the country club one set in River Heights. We have Sisters in Crime, the sorority one.
Yep.
The Valentine's Day one.
False Impressions.
Was False Impressions, which was the Alibi and Ashes inspiration, and Death by Design, which was the Danger by Design inspiration.
Yeah. This is going to be hard.
Oh no. Okay.
I think we're going to be different on this.
I think so. That's okay.
Yeah. This is so hard. Okay, because I think, this my opinion is, that False Impressions is probably the best one that we read.
I agree. I would keep False Impressions.
But I don't know that I would keep it.
Okay.
I think it was the best, but I don't know that I would keep it out of all of these. I
Interesting.
think I would keep Sisters in Crime.
Oh, okay. What about your other two?
I would... Oh, this is hard. Okay, I would give away False Impressions. Because I love it and I think it's great about everything, but that's because like I want someone else to have it and appreciate it. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So
I'll take it.
Keeping Sisters in Crime for myself because I just love I think I love the vibe of it more than I like the vibe of False Impressions. Like the college sorority, like it's so much soapier than False Impressions. And so it's more of like what I would like to read in a file than False Impressions, even though I think False Impressions was better.
Okay.
And even maybe I did enjoy it a little bit more than Sisters in Crime. Sisters in Crime is more my vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would keep Sisters in Crime, give away False Impressions. And then I would revise Death by Design and delete Circle of Evil.
Oh, yeah?
Because, okay, I think Death by Design is not as good as Circle of Evil. But I feel like there's more room to maneuver in Death by Design. And I appreciate the concept of Death by Design. I just think it was done all wrong.
Yeah.
Circle of Evil is fine in its conception, I guess, but I think it's boring.
Yeah.
Like, I just think among all the other files, we have so many that are like that already.
That's true.
That I'm just like, I don't think we need that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Keep Sisters in Crime, give away False Impressions, revise Death by Design, delete Circle of Evil are my picks.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, y'all know I hated Death by Design. I'm just going to delete that one. Yeah. I'm going to keep False Impressions for myself, and I'm going to give away Sisters in Crime. So maybe we'll just trade that.
Swap those. Yeah,
I'll just give Sisters in Crime to you. You give False Impressions to me, and then
you'll revise Circle of Evil.
Yeah, I would revise Circle of Evil. I think that's the last one, even though I don't know what revisions would have to be in place in order to make a difference.
Well, we
make
talked
it much
about
better.
it in the episode. We talked about having it either a broader scope, like not just occurring at the country club, or occurring in more places, and then also fixing the kind of repeating cycle of the end, where Nancy keeps getting caught by this one guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but that was a difficult one.
Yeah,
So.
that was hard because there are a lot of
It was
good ones in there. I think every single one in there, maybe except Death by Design, had some like real like juice to it, real meat to it. You know what I mean? So
Even Death by Design, I'll admit that there
Yeah.
were some juicy parts in there. It just wasn't my thing.
I think there is some kind of inherent value to Death by Design. One, because it inspired a game. So I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I can't delete it because then I'm also deleting Danger by Design. I love Danger by Design.
I
I can't
know,
do that. But no, I do think like, I don't know, there's something about Nancy being sick, like so sick to the point of like not like cogent, I find really interesting. And I think there was like such a, in a similar way to like how Nancy gets arrested for false impressions, I find that in Death by Design, she's kind of out, you know? So I think that's where they missed, is in Death by Design. I think if they had instead let other people investigate in place of Nancy and let Nancy be sick and in the hospital, it would have been a much more interesting book to me. But anyway, so that's how I would revise it, but that's okay. That was our section of the files, and so now we're on to this super mystery double crossing. I am so excited.
What a perfect way to wrap up this section.
There's nothing like a super mystery to wrap up the files section, I gotta say.
I was pleasantly surprised that we don't introduce Nancy and the Hardy Boys, that we start off that they already know each other. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other examples where it's the first, quote unquote, first time in a series where they meet. She already knows them in the games when we meet them for the first time. I think it might have just been, well, we haven't read any of the Girl Detective Super Mysteries, but I think it might just be Nancy Drew Christmas, where they're like unknown to her and they meet each other for the first time.
Yeah.
Unless there's something I'm forgetting.
In the 77 show, they know
Oh,
each
yeah,
other,
they don't.
right? Or they don't?
They don't know each other, did they? Because there was that whole drama with the hotel room, and she was there to meet Fenton, and then they accidentally put them both in the same hotel room.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
she like flips Frank because she doesn't realize.
Yeah, but they realize like, yeah, she knows Fenton, and that's how I think maybe Carson and Fenton know each other or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't actually know each other. So, yeah, so 77 show in the diaries. Yeah.
Oh, no, the 95 show, because there's 2 crossover episodes where Tracy guest starred in the Hardy Boys TV show.
I haven't watched those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing, though, where she's there to, like, meet with Fenton.
Okay.
And then runs into the Hardy Boys on accident.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But no, yeah, in this one, right off the bat, they know each other. So Nancy recognizes Frank straight away.
Which I prefer. I like a universe where they've been friends for years kind of thing.
I don't know. I want to see an origin story. You know? Here's the thing. I don't think probably that I would like the origin story that these super mysteries might give me. So I can like rely on things like fan fiction to give me what I want there. But I do want to know, or at least have, you know, some kind of idea of how they actually first met, you know? And I wish that maybe they could at least harken back to it.
Yeah.
But to give us some kind of lore, some kind of history, you know? But
I feel like to do that, we would have had to have done it like way back, you know, Stratemeyer Syndicate times. Like, I'm fine with. Actually, no, I don't like it when in new series we like try to meet Ned again for the first time. It's like,
that's true.
Or we like, well, I don't think we re-meet Ned, but we do have several times where it's like, oh, I've been friends with him since 3rd grade. It's like, no, I remember Clue in the Diary when you met him. We know how we met Ned. Don't try to rewrite that, you know?
But we've never outside of like
we've never met them.
We never met them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it feels the same to me.
Yeah. I like an explanation that the TV shows try to give, that Carson and Fenton like know each other through work.
Sense.
And then Carson is like, why don't you meet this guy? He'll help you with the case. And then it's from there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess technically the 77 show would have been under Stratemeyer times because Harry had signed off on that. So
that's true.
I'll take that as the canon explanation for how they met.
It definitely makes the most sense that Carson and Fenton would be aware of each other because of Carson's status as a, you know, attorney and Fenton as an investigator. Like that makes sense that they would run in similar circles. But I don't know. I want something more dramatic, something juicier. I want them to like randomly meet each other and they're investigating the same crime. Like, hey, which I guess kind of is what the 77 show episode is about in respect. But I don't know. Okay.
I don't like the tropey of like, should we trust each other? And like, you have to prove that you can trust. I don't skip over all that. I'm bored with that. You know, I want to, not that we necessarily do that, but I feel like a lot of.
I am just obsessed. Sorry, I am just obsessed with an enemies to lovers plotline. Like, that is my beloved trope.
Oh, well, that's different. That's different.
But I don't think, even in the best case scenario, I don't think Frank and Nancy would fall into an enemies to lovers arc. That's for Deirdre. Yes, it's for Deirdre.
We have to save the good stuff for Deirdre. My sweet sassy angel. I love her.
Me too.
She's a good foil. It took long enough. It took until the File series to get any sort of foil for Nancy.
Yes.
But then when we finally do it, we do it well. We have Brenda and we have Deirdre trying to kind of fill that role.
Yes.
Boy, did they do it perfectly.
Right. We do need more a foil for Nancy because Bess and George do not suffice. Even Helen
and they shouldn't.
Didn't suffice as a foil for Nancy. I mean, I don't know if I'm just not of the time to understand the ways in which that she was a foil. And, you know, I've talked about my whole like theories on how, they're foiling Nancy by showing that this is a girl more interested in things at the time. I don't think that.
I don't think it's really a foil. Yeah, I think
because
that we're really just.
Because a foil has to be morally opposite, you know, and like structurally opposite.
Yes.
In ways. And I mean, maybe at the time because they weren't comfortable writing women as villains. Like maybe that was a thing. Like they just like, we can't show a bad woman, right? Because then what'll that do to the feminist cause, you know? So.
Oh, and Deirdre's not even bad. She just wants Ned.
Yeah.
And so therefore we have to do some slut shaming type of situation. Exactly. And that's how we hate on Deirdre. So
yeah. Well. We're far off topic because Deirdre's not in this book.
Neither is Brenda, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
we can't help ourselves. We just can't help ourselves.
But yes, love a good first Hardy Boy Nancy Drew crossover in a series.
Yeah.
And boy, was this a good one.
I think so. I loved it. I do think at times I think the writing suffered in some points. Like I could tell kind of in the middle, it got kind of muddled and they were maybe trying to move a little bit too quickly to the point where I was like, wait, what's happening? I'm confused. But overall, I laughed out loud at points. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We were all over the place, but in like a good way.
Yeah.
You know? It's also so unserious. Like,
I know.
Let me just give you guys the quick premise, or I guess I read the back of this in the last episode, but the premise here is Nancy gets on a cruise, and Frank and Joe happen to be there, and George's there too, and they investigate someone selling CIA secrets.
Another product of its time. We are very, very concerned about what Russia was up to.
Oh my God, the Russians. Oh my God.
We are very, very, this and Secrets Can Kill are very, very much that like
Cold
secret,
War.
Intelligent, Cold War, espionage drama. Yeah,
this came out in 1988, everyone.
You can tell.
So, yeah. So like, we're talking about the CIA. These teenagers are running around trying to protect national security from Russian agents, and people are dying. Like, people are actually dying, and like, there's pretty gory stuff that's actually happening, but we're just making jokes like the whole time.
We're concerned about our costume for the party tonight. Like,
I love it. I love it so much.
Everyone is making out.
Yeah. Oh everyone. My God. Literally everyone. Joe and the Moon are making out. Like, do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. It's the exact kind of thing that you would expect to happen with a bunch of 18-year-olds on a cruise ship. Going to Cozumel, of all places. Like, come on.
Perfect. We have some content warnings though. We
you're right.
Throw out there real quick.
We really do. So there is some sexual assault in the form of forced kissing. Right off the bat, took me very much by surprise. So we'll talk about that. There is murder, as I was saying. There's also drugging and kidnapping in this book a couple times, actually.
Yep.
And kind of a little bit of graphic talk about dead bodies. I mean, Kori and I probably won't go into the graphicness of it, but that is in the book itself. So, yeah, there's, like I was saying, a lot of serious stuff, despite our unserious tone of it all. So, yeah, be aware of that. And if you need to skip this episode, we totally understand, and we'll try to give you some warnings before we talk about that, so you can skip ahead a bit. But
some of it, like, almost ruined it for me. Not, like, entirely ruining the story, but it's just so unnecessary that we could have taken it out, had a completely exactly the same story. Like,
the sexual assault
it added nothing.
Did not do anything.
No, if anything, we're supposed to read it as, like, flattering toward Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what the author's trying to tell us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll get there.
Yep. I do think this whole show, this whole book feels like an episode of the 77 show to me.
Oh, yeah.
And I can absolutely imagine Pamela Sue Martin as Nancy and all of the actors for Frank Joe and even George running around and doing this stuff. And I feel like it's like the exact same vibe. And obviously that is kind of what the Supermystery series was supposed to be in its conception, right? Because we had the Nancy Drew files to kind of answer for Nancy of this time. And then they wanted to recapture what the 77 show was for these same series, this crossover series. And that is what this book is. It's the typification of that.
1000%. Joe in this is Sean Cassidy.
Yes.
Like, that's who they based this character on. Yeah.
Talking to the moon. That's Sean Cassidy. And even George, like, being the social director on this cruise ship. Like, it's very best coded almost, which feels a lot like the George of the 77 show.
Yes.
I could see her
singing. I could see Susan Bruckner singing and organizing the line dance and all of that stuff.
Yes. And obviously, peak Francie drama.
You guys, the pool scene.
Oh,
the pool scene.
God.
I'm collapsing in my chair. Like, oh my gosh.
The longing, the sighs, the extended touches, the touches that go on for just, the hugs that go on for just a little bit too long. Oh, so
Can't
good.
contain myself.
So good. I will say the one thing that I did not appreciate about this book is how often Nancy has to be rescued. It happens, like, I swear, like 3 times, 4 times maybe, where she gets into some kind of situation and, like, they have to, like, go get her, go find her, track her down, and she can't get out of the situation herself without the Hardy Boys being involved somehow, which just feels sexist to me. I don't like it. And I just, I don't mind the concept of Nancy getting into trouble and needing to be rescued, but if we're gonna have a situation where we have Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys in it, we need it to be vice versa. You know what I mean? We need to have some equal footing there, because tell me it would not be hilarious to have Frank rescue Nancy from one situation, then have her turn around and rescue him right back and go, well, how the turntables have turned, Frank Hardy. Look who needs my help now.
Is there a single time where Nancy has to rescue either or both Hardy Boys?
I don't think so.
Certainly not in this book. I'm trying to think in general, and I can't.
The 77 show probably does something. But
Maybe.
I can't think of it.
I mean, can only picture Nancy getting, like, picked up, whisked away off of a horse before the car hits her.
Yeah,
the Hollywood Phantom.
The Hollywood Phantom is particularly egregious about it. And
anyway.
Yeah. I don't know.
But that would be great if we did have Nancy going to rescue them rather than just her being the damsel in distress.
Not only for, like, an equality's sake, for, like, you know, sexism and the patriarchy or whatever, but also because it's funny and
just
good.
The entertainment
and entertaining and makes for good, like, content. Like, who wouldn't want to read that? Like, that's so funny. So, yeah. So that's really the only big critique I have about this book, other than the writing, is that Nancy has to keep getting rescued. But overall, I loved it. Peak comedy. So, should we talk about the cover?
Yes. Now,
I don't like this cover, Kori.
I don't think this scene actually happens in the book.
It
I don't know
absolutely
what
doesn't.
they're doing here. They're like crawling on the ground, looking at the dirt.
They're looking at like a footprint, I think, in the sand.
Okay. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not something, it's absolutely not something that happens in the book. But oddly enough, that's not really my criticism of this. Because I think the scene itself looks really exciting. So, okay, I guess. But my critique is the fact that, like, Frank is in shadow on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Half, like, the lighting is very weird. And also, I don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it looks like either a Nancy Drew file cover or one of the Hardy Boys files covers.
No. If you just showed me these pictures, I would never guess that this was supposed to be Nancy, Frank, and Joe.
No, that's the thing.
This is just an 80s blonde woman.
Yes, it doesn't look like any of those people. First of all, Frank looks like a young dark-haired Zac Efron.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, that's who that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the jaw and everything. Pre him having his like jaw reconstruction surgery stuff. That's a young dark-haired Zac Efron.
Even the hair swoop is the same.
Yes. I don't love the fact that they're all like in different colors. Like, it doesn't feel coordinated. It doesn't feel the scene doesn't even happen in the book, and they don't look like they're together. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look cohesive.
They should be wearing their crew uniforms because they're never not in uniform in this.
This looks like Frank looks like Professor Plum. Nancy looks like Miss Scarlet, and Joe looks like Miss Peacock in their colors. And it's just weird. I don't know. I do love the graphic design of this cover. I love the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys Supermystery with like the big red outlines and everything. I think that's super cool. And I don't even mind like the overall color contrast of the red and the blue, but I just think the characters on the cover of it look totally out of place. So,
yeah. It feels like cut off. Like we're supposed to be able to see whatever it is they're looking at, and it just feels empty because we're not really looking at anything. So I know it's the footprint. I do see the footprint, but there's also like shadow in front of them, and like Joe's looking up and off into the distance, like he sees something coming at them.
Yeah,
but there's no excitement. There's no movement here. They're just kind of pointing at this footprint.
Yeah, and also Nancy's hair looks weird.
It does. I'm sorry, but it does.
I know it's supposed to look like the wind is blowing through it, which I can appreciate, but it actually kind of just looks like it was hairsprayed a lot in a curl pattern.
Morgan Kane is our artist for this one.
All right. I think the quality of the art is pretty. I love the way the ocean looks and the sky. I think it's good. I just don't think it I don't think it's a good scene to put on the cover of a book. Like, I think the editors should have picked a different scene to be represented. Firstly, because this one doesn't even happen. And second of all, because it doesn't look cohesive to put on the cover.
It doesn't, again, same with false impressions. It doesn't really tell us anything about what is actually happening in the mystery, except for the vague idea that we're on a cruise. Yeah,
exactly. But like, it
I
doesn't
didn't even notice that at first.
It doesn't even look like they're on the cruise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It looks like they're on an island and the cruise is off in the distance. So like, I don't know what they're doing. And in the book, we go to Cozumel, but we spend like 5 seconds there and then get back on the boat. So it's not really representative. Like, I think we needed to have them on the deck of the ship.
Yeah.
That's what we needed. Looking out over the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
oh well.
Alas. That's okay.
That's a very pretty art style. I do like the colors and everything.
Yeah,
like you
it's
said,
very dramatic.
Yeah.
Like the deep shades and everything, the shadows. It's a very dramatic cover.
It's well done. Yeah, but
I just don't think
not for me.
Yeah. That's okay. 3 words?
3 words.
I think just boat.
Yeah, cruise ship.
Boat book. Boat.
This feels like a more mature Curse of the Arctic Star. Just because they're also on the cruise ship with that one.
Yes. Yeah. A soapier, romancier.
Yeah. CIA.
Yeah,
definitely.
I also have that. Boat, CIA. And then I was kind of thinking, like, privilege?
Yeah. Chloroform.
Chloroform, another contender. I don't know. There's a lot going on in this book, so it's difficult.
There feels like there should be something else.
I feel like
does a lot.
There's lots happening, but nothing like jumps out as being like, oh, it's about this or that happens excessively or something, you know? Outside of Nancy having to be rescued, which I'd prefer not to dwell on.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me the most was everyone's attitude.
Yeah.
Honestly. And so, like, snobbiness, rudeness, or privilege is probably where I lean.
Snobby rich people.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
CIA. Boat.
Snobby rich people.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay. Shall we jump in?
Yeah, you want to start us off?
Sure. All aboard the SS Duchess, everyone. Nancy is getting on board a boat for a 5-day cruise from Miami to Cozumel, joining George, who is already working aboard this ship as an assistant social director. I guess this is like a summer job that she has gotten. Immediately as she's boarding, Nancy runs into Frank, and he is here undercover as ship photographer, and apparently tells Nancy when they meet and talk to each other that Joe is also here working undercover as a busboy. And Frank is about to tell her why they're here undercover investigating, but they're interrupted by a group of like really rude passengers who are all teens around their age. It's really awkward. They like refuse to greet Nancy and Frank when they like say hi to them, and they make fun of Frank's camera. It's really weird. It's just a weird interaction. So Nancy kind of has to split up with Frank before she can learn more about what's going on with him. She's staying in George's cabin with her, and she goes to deposit her luggage there, making sure to set up a card that Ned gave her before she left, and take a moment to think longingly about how great of a boyfriend he is, and how there will be absolutely no romance between her and Frank Hardy on this trip.
Nancy.
That evening at dinner, George announces a scavenger hunt and tells everyone that if they're on the yellow team, they're really lucky because they have Nancy Drew, ace detective, joining them. So George has kind of foiled any plans Nancy had of investigating anything covertly, because Nancy is already kind of thinking, oh, Frank and Joe are here investigating something. I need to help them, right?
Yeah.
So, but they go to do this scavenger hunt. Nancy meets up with her team and they split up. She heads up to one of the decks to look for a specific item when she overhears footsteps on one of the decks above her. It's 2 people, and they start talking. And it soon becomes apparent to Nancy that she is overhearing a girl selling CIA secrets, because her father works for them, purportedly, to someone with a Spanish accent. And they are talking, and they agree to arrange to meet the following morning to actually do the handoff of these secrets. Nancy tries to like see who they are, but she can't tell. And when she tries to move in closer, someone grabs her from behind, flips her around, and content warning, this is a sexual assault, forcefully kisses her. She tries to pull away, but they hold on tighter. And now the people upstairs have heard this and are running away. Nancy literally has to elbow this guy in the stomach to get him off of her. Like she's trying to push away and he won't let go. And so she has to fully clock him.
Good for you, Nancy.
But then she apologizes to him. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to go. And to run off after the 2 people up there. I'm sorry, push him overboard? Are you serious?
Yeah. This is where they're trying to make it sound like it's supposed to be flattering to Nancy. That, oh, she's so pretty, this boy wants to kiss her forcefully so that she can't move or get away.
But in what universe? Even if that is flattering, in what universe is she apologizing to the guy? Oh, I'm so sorry, you can't kiss me right now. So sorry. Like she's owed to people. Like her kisses were owed to him. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I had to use force to get you off of me. Hope your stomach doesn't hurt too bad from getting elbowed. Like, I wish she'd done worse.
Yes, I wish she twisted his off.
Mm-hmm.
Threw him over the side of the ship. Go fetch.
Loser.
Anyway, okay. Unfortunately, the people upstairs get away, and this guy that she's dubbed the Phantom Kisser catches up with her and introduces himself as David Carlisle. And he says to her, "Oh, you didn't have to run. I wasn't going to hurt you."
Based on what, sir?
How is Nancy to know? And also, you grabbed her and wouldn't let her go. That seems kind of hurtful to me. I don't know.
Nancy, you didn't have to hurt my feelings by running away from my assault. How dare you?
I wasn't going to
That's what it
murder
seems
you.
like. He seems offended that
I was
Nancy...
just going to rape you.
Yeah. You should be flattered.
You should be grateful that I find you attractive enough to be assaulted. Yeah. So that's chapter 1, you guys. Chapter 1. So.
And
anyway.
then tries to claim it's not his fault that he assaulted someone.
Yeah. Because he says the reason why he kissed her is because it was part of the scavenger hunt list to kiss a pretty stranger. So he kind of apologizes to her, but not really. And yeah, okay, well, I'm sure, first of all, the scavenger hunt list meant a consensual kiss.
Right.
From a pretty stranger. But second of all, who puts that on a scavenger hunt list?
George, what the heck? George made this list, by the way. They say that.
Yeah.
George, why would you put that on there?
It's just asking for problems. Also, I mean, the concept of a scavenger hunt on a ship does seem a little bit weird to me because they're actually going around collecting items to bring them back, which is don't all the items that are on the ship need to be where they are? And
I think one of the items is a safety, a life preserver.
Yes.
It's put it back.
But
what are you doing?
Where it stays. You can't just be picking up things off of parts of the ship and bringing it back to the ballroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is weird. I don't know why you put this on here. Don't most people go on cruises with a significant other or their family?
Yeah.
So what percentage of the cruise goers want to go kiss a random pretty stranger?
I can only think that cruise culture was different in maybe the 80s and 90s than it is today. Because
everyone's swinging. Kidding.
Probably. No, but I think obviously in today's day and age we associate cruising. I shouldn't use that word. I don't know. Going on cruises as a older person activity. Not a lot of young people spend time want to go on a cruise.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not one of those people, by the way. I think I would absolutely love a cruise. I've been on a couple cruises when I was young, as going with my family, and loved it, and would absolutely 10 out of 10 do it again at the age I am now, because the concept of an all-inclusive, I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to travel, people bring things to me kind of value is high for me. So I would absolutely love that. But I think the conception is that that's not the typical age group that you'd find on a cruise,
Also, what makes this a scavenger hunt list item? What is he going to bring back to prove that he's assaulted Nancy?
How does he prove it?
Yeah.
On her underwear or something. Lipstick on his lips. Ugh. Oh, I'm grossed out. I'm grossed out thinking about it.
Yeah, what are you thinking of, George? How many other random concepts do you have on this scavenger hunt list?
I just don't understand why this was how we're starting the book off. It would be so much easier to have Nancy just out on a walk by herself or something. She's going to go meet up with George, but it has to be later after dinner or whatever. So she's going to go explore the ship a little bit by herself. And then she overhears this. We don't have to have the scavenger hunt as being part of it.
Yeah.
And David guy can just be there and surprise her and scare off the people above. We don't have to do this whole sexual assault business. We don't have to do the scavenger hunt that doesn't make any sense.
I feel like this tells me a lot of very gross things about the time period in which this is written, which obviously, that makes sense. The like the original Nancy Drew books, the mystery stories, I feel like they are all written with this like aspirational kind of fantasy quality that like, oh my gosh, I see Nancy do these things. I could do those things too. Wow. In a perfect world, I would get to go on that adventure and solve that mystery and follow those bad guys there and solve that code. I don't want to read this and be like, wow, I could go on a cruise and get assaulted too. Wow, what a great thing for Nancy. This whirlwind, like she's kissing random boys all the time. Like it's written to where we're supposed to like, it feels like it's written to where we're supposed to read it as this like cool thing that happens. Like, oh, Nancy's so grown up that she can go on a cruise by herself and like meet boys. But no, this is not, we shouldn't be presenting it like that. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I agree. 100% I agree. I think absolutely it was part of like the idea at the time that being attractive means that like you're gonna get assaulted and you should feel flattered about it, and it means
all this attention you're getting,
that you're valuable. How horrific. How horrific that women's value is associated with their likelihood of getting assaulted.
And their value is intrinsically tied to their appearance first and foremost.
Yes. And their value as a sexual commodity.
Yeah.
Yes. Like as an object available to be kissed, to have sex with, all of it.
The consent part probably did not enter David's mind.
No.
Like, why wouldn't she want me to sneak up behind her and grab her? Unless she's a B-word that's got a boyfriend. In which case, it's her problem.
Yeah. Yeah. God forbid she's gay.
Yeah.
We couldn't even talk about this. This is 1988 at this point. We would not have been able to have that in Nancy Drew book.
No, of course not. Yeah.
So, anyway. Yeah, so we're starting off really strongly in a bad way, but we move past this. And we realize, too, that David is one of the guys that was in that group of teens that were being super rude to Nancy and Frank earlier. And he apologizes for them as well, saying that they're a little spoiled because they're all diplomats' kids. And then Nancy has this realization that she knows from Carson that diplomat can kind of be code for someone in the CIA.
She just assumes. She's like, if they're a diplomat, they must secretly be in the CIA.
Well, she thinks this, right? Because she's just overheard this person up there talking about selling CIA secrets, and the voice sounded like a young woman.
Right.
And so she's thinking, if this is a group of CIA young people, or diplomat
the children
kids, diplomats, that could mean that she was one of those group, one of the people from that group, and that actually they're children of people in the CIA. Yeah.
You can sell state secrets without also being in the CIA. You know, like you can be a diplomat and have access to that information and not also be in the CIA. But
you don't even have to be a diplomat. Like, the U.S. government contracts
presumably
with all kinds of companies. Like,
you could get that information a lot of places. So.
Yeah, but anyway,
I think it's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. So, right, Nancy is like, okay, was one of the girls in that group the one who was just above there trying to sell her father's CIA secrets? And so Nancy runs back to George to tell her what's just happened and also to try to signal Frank. Then David shows back up again. Is he like following her now? It's really weird. We don't like David. Nancy introduces David though to George, and they hit it off like immediately. Like George's super into David, David's super into George, and they go off and they dance. So cool, I guess, but like he was just kissing Nancy, which so it feels kind of gross. Like he just wants to kiss everybody and doesn't particularly care whether or not they want to kiss him. So anyway, Nancy then goes to talk to Frank and Joe. And finally, she learns from Frank that he and Joe are actually here just investigating a claim that one of the crew has been stealing from passengers. So it has nothing to do with the CIA. The CIA secrets thing is totally new to them. But obviously they're interested, right? Because it's more crime, exciting crime. And so they promised to be on the Princess deck tomorrow morning, which is where the two people had arranged to meet to hand off these CIA discs. So by the way, they're discs of information. Just as they finish this conversation, an elderly woman then runs into the room yelling that she's been attacked. Was it David? Is my first question. Um,
I'm sorry, that's awful. That was good.
The captain, who we learn is named Captain Helgeson. I don't know.
Helgeson sounds right. Yeah.
He arrives and he escorts this woman back to her room, along with Frank, Joe, and Nancy following. This woman, who is named Miss Lillian Hallock, is on the cruise with her friend, Faith Whitman. Sorry. This is so gay-coded.
Yeah,
Faith
no, it is.
and Lillian are gay-coded. Of course, they just say that they're friends, but they're sharing a cabin. They took a cruise together. Like, I don't know. They could be friends, but they could also be more.
Yeah.
Also, I want to talk about this more later too, when we learn a little bit more about this situation, because I think it gives more evidence to that.
Oh, it will. Yeah. It's great.
I'm gonna write that down. Because I don't want to forget. I'm talking,
Yes.
you know how we were talking about, I need to do better writing down Lillian and Faith. Okay. Sorry. So Miss Hallock explains that she came back from the dance and Faith was already in bed asleep. And so she went to turn on a small light when she was confronted by a man wearing a crew uniform with dark hair in a vampire mask. And he grabs her and shoves her as he runs out of the room. So Faith had stayed asleep through all of this, as she is hard of hearing when she's not wearing her hearing aid. And so she didn't know that any of this was going on. So she didn't even know that someone had broken in. And there are no clues to be found in the cabin. So our sleuths leave and get a schedule of all of the male crew for that evening to see who might have been available to have done this, right? Like who might have been on break to have been the one to break into this cabin. They're able to narrow this list down to about 10 guys that way, but so they split up. Frank and Joe go to ascertain these crew members' alibis, and Nancy goes to try to find this vampire mask that the guy was wearing. I thought this was such a crazy thing. I'm like, what do you mean, Nancy, you're going to go find this vampire mask? What are you going to do? Go search in everyone's cabins? But she's successful. She like finds it in like the ship's costume closet or something. And so they meet back up later that evening and she shows the vampire mask to them and she knows that it's the one because it like wasn't where it usually was in the costume closet, according to George, who would know because she's this assistant social director or whatever. And also because it's like still damp inside from the attacker's breath.
Grody.
It's disgusting. Also, Frank and Joe have now narrowed down this list to just 3 guys by, alibiing out the other ones. And Esteban is one of them, and he is a busboy who Frank knows owes a bunch of money to people on the ship. So Frank thinks that it's probably Esteban because of his motive. So they track him down and they take him to Miss Halleck's cabin, and she says that she knows him. She recognizes him. But you will have to learn why in just a few minutes. We'll be back in just a second.
And we're back. So Miss Halleck does recognize this guy, but not from having been attacked. She knows him from a tennis club in Miami, where he was wrongfully fired on suspicion of cheating. Miss Halleck said the club tried to track him down to apologize after they realized it was not him doing this, but they couldn't find him. Esteban is rightfully pissed at being wrongfully suspected, and he says that people think that all poor people are thieves, but we know what he really means. He means brown people of color.
Yeah.
We determine actually that he likely wouldn't have had time to get to Mrs. Halleck's cabin from where he was on the ship, and also he wouldn't have been able to get to the costume closet in time, and also we don't even think that he knows where the costume closet is. And so the captain lets him go and he just storms off, understandably. Frank, Joe, Nancy, and George all decide to go to bed because it's so late and they have to get up early because, of course, we have to go be there ahead of time for that CIA secret handoff meeting. They meet back up on deck the following morning and they all kind of like take secret hiding places around the deck so that they all have like a view to watch what's going on. But basically, it's all super chaotic once everything does start going down. there is this European baron guy who's super annoying. And he, apparently this has happened like several times already on this cruise ship where he'll like see Frank with the camera. And this guy fancies himself like an amateur photographer. And so he like goes up to Frank and is like, oh, what shutter speed are you using? And like, oh, what lighting are you, did all these questions. And Frank is just like not having it. And he's trying to like politely excuse himself from the conversation. But basically he's waylaid, and so he can't see anything because this baron guy is like directly in front of him, blocking him from doing anything else. Nancy and George actually get distracted by the wrong suspects. They think that some people that did get there a little bit right after them, they like think that they could be, and so they try to watch them, and it ends up not being them. Joe actually is attacked by one of those kids from the group of rude teenagers. This guy's name is Demetrios, and he thinks that Joe is spying on him, which Joe was kind of watching him, but he also wasn't directly watching Demetrios. So this guy pushes him, and Joe falls overboard off the cruise ship.
Oh my God.
This is terrifying. This would like probably kill you.
Yeah. Which Frank is worried about when it happens. He's like, oh my God, but then he sees him surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If this doesn't kill you, like losing you in the water would. Like just the impact could be enough. But then the cruise ship is moving so fast that they might not be able to get back to you. It's so scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a very tense scene. He does get rescued. They have to like, Frank like throws him a life preserver so he's able to hold on. But it does take like an hour or two for the lifeboats to get out back to where he was, get him, and bring him back.
Yeah.
So it's very nerve-wracking. It's an awful scene. But Joe is fine. And now, of course, Nancy realizes that they have missed the handoff entirely because of all of that. So did Demetrios intentionally cause a diversion? Is he involved, or was it just a coincidence? We don't know. Nancy talks about it with George, and they definitely saw everyone on that deck that morning. There are plenty of guys who could have been the Spanish voice she heard the previous night, but there were not any girls who seems to have fit the description of the woman whose voice we overheard last night, because she was actually expecting one of that group of rude teens. I think it's 2 girls and 3 guys, right? She was thinking it was probably one of those 2 girls, but she didn't see either one of them on the deck at all that morning. So maybe not. She also cautions George about David because we already know he's a predator.
Should have done that last night, Nancy.
Yeah. But too late because George is already head over heels for this guy. Yeah, she says it's awfully convenient that Demetrios was on the deck where the handoff was supposed to occur, and awfully convenient that David just happened to be there on the stairwell last night when Nancy was trying to overhear him. And so could he have intentionally like tried to distract Nancy from overhearing too much of the conversation? George is frustrated and upset at this thought because how dare you accuse this man she's known for 3 hours of any wrongdoing, who when we already know he's done something wrong. But luckily she just kind of moves past it, and she and Nancy go to work out.
Yeah.
George is leading this like aerobics class, so they just go there. During the aerobics class, David and Gail, who's one of the girls from the group, they come in, look around for a minute, like they're maybe looking for someone, and then they just leave. Nancy actually sneaks out of the class to follow them, and she stops them, and they say that they're actually looking for their friend Marcy, who has gone missing. So that's the other girl in the group. Nancy does offer to help look for Marcy, but Gail snaps at her and cries something horrible has happened to Marcy, and she's probably dead.
Uh-oh.
But no, we don't need any help. She's probably dead, but nobody needs to get involved. Okay. They refuse her help, but Nancy realizes that Gail's voice is not the one she heard planning the CIA handoff or whatever. That means it's probably Marcy's. Assuming that it's one of the kids from this group, then it must be Marcy. So she thinks that this is serious enough now to go to the captain, because what if someone threw Marcy overboard to silence her from sharing these secrets or something like that. So she goes to the captain, explains the whole business to him, and he agrees to broadcast a message over the loudspeaker like every 30 minutes, just saying like, Marcy, will you please come to my office? And then he's going to repeat it. And then hopefully in a few hours, Marcy will have shown up by then. But flash forward a few hours later, Nancy goes back to the captain and he says he has not heard from Marcy, not seen her. So the captain authorizes a ship-wide search for her. He has them like pair up, and there's another crew member named Elliot who he assigns to pair up with Nancy for the search. And then Frank is going to go with some other crew member who I don't even think we name them. It's not really important, but basically we have 2 different groups going to look for Marcy. And they're going to go cabin by cabin just to search every single one. Even if there's somebody in there, they're just going to go in and check. When Nancy and Elliot get to Marcy's cabin, Gail is inside. And I guess Gail and Marcy were roommates anyway on this trip. And she says, Marcy is obviously not here. Oh, she just like opens the door for them a little bit and like peeks out. So she doesn't even open the door fully that they can see in. And she's like, well, she's obviously not here. So just like move on, go to the next cabin. When they do go to the next cabin, this is where the boys in the group are staying. They knock and just somebody inside is just like, oh, nobody's home. So they won't let anyone help look for Marcy. They're like actively making the investigation more difficult, but they're super concerned. Okay. Meanwhile, Joe has caught up with Frank. He found a really expensive looking cufflink on the deck. And no one has reported having lost one. So he assumes that whoever lost it didn't want anyone to know that they had it because maybe it would like place them somewhere they weren't supposed to be at a time, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because we don't know when this was lost. It says it feels like a stretch, but he says he'll get George to make an announcement about it at dinner. So maybe we'll get another lead on it then. Nancy and Elliot continue to search and they reach the cabin that Nancy and George are staying in because Nancy is just like joining George in her crew cabin. And Nancy tells Elliot to go and search their room and she is just going to go on to the next room because she's like, of course, Marcy's not going to be in our room, but you can go in and check. So Elliot goes into her room and she goes to the next cabin and she knocks, but no one answers. So the captain gave her like a master key card or whatever. So she uses the key card to open it, and once inside she is grabbed from behind and held at knife point before she can like even get the lights turned on.
So I guess it turns out that this guy is just the ship's chef, so that's why he has the knife, and he's just very private, so he doesn't want anyone coming into his cabin. And I guess he assumed that Nancy was like gonna steal something. And so he grabs her, but when he realizes that she's not a thief, he lets her go.
So he was just sitting in the dark holding a knife?
I think so.
Didn't react at all when somebody knocked and was just surprised when somebody comes in.
Who's just waiting in their room in the dark with a knife?
Why does he keep the knife in his room? Why is the knife not in the kitchen?
Well, so chefs do tend to carry their knives around, not around with them, but they don't leave them with the rest of the kitchen stuff because chef's knives usually belong to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're really expensive and
that's
important.
Fair.
So
maybe he was sharpening them. He had them out for a reason.
Maybe that's a generous read, but yeah. But so he lets her go and she leaves and they end up finishing the search and they don't find Marcy. So Marcy either fell overboard, was murdered and thrown overboard, or she could be hidden somewhere still on the ship and we just can't find her. So the captain tells Nancy that he can go ahead and tell her friends of this, so she goes to go do that. But when she knocks on Gail's door, Gail is acting like a completely different person. She was like so upset this morning, but now she's like smiling and happy. So what changed? Did they find Marcy? Nancy like goes into the cabin and all of the boys are in there too, and they're watching TV. But they're being really rude to Nancy again. They keep like turning the volume up on the TV so that they like can't hear what she's saying, like on purpose. And David is there too, and he's also acting like a jerk. And Nancy's like, okay, what is the deal? What is going on? And they basically just tell her to mind her own business. Which, what? So Nancy is like, aren't you worried about Marcy? And they're like, oh, she's fine. She'll be fine. So, like, what? This is crazy. So Nancy just leaves because there's nothing else she can do. Like, she tells them and then she goes to go get ready for dinner. And she really wants to warn George off of David now, but she doesn't get a chance to before David shows up to dinner and apologizes. He says he knows he acted like a jerk this morning and he was sorry, but and when Nancy asks, well, why the change in behavior, did something change? And he only nods that something has changed, but he won't tell her more about it.
Weirdo.
Mm-hmm. So then George makes this announcement about the cufflink and then comes to join Nancy and David. And while George and David are flirting, Nancy flags down Joe Joe comes over to Nancy and tells her that he has something to show her. So he asks her to meet him in a cabin in a few minutes. So Nancy sneaks off and goes to meet up with him in this cabin. Turns out this is a cabin that he and Frank have staged to be the cabin of like a fake rich passenger named Maxwell Schweit. They're basically trying to set up a trap for this possible thief on board. But that's not actually what he wants to show her. He shows her a note, or a copy of a note, that was put on the ship's bulletin board that says, "For sale. Very valuable collection of compact discs still available. Will exchange for information about Pipeline," which is the code name of the girl who is selling CIA secrets. That's what she said on the deck before. And so we think this is Marcy. Leave message in cabin A43. So Frank shows up and they all talk about this together, and they decide that this note very much makes it seem like, yes, it's about this sale of the CIA discs, and that the handoff didn't actually happen on deck the other day. So if Nancy is right, and it's Marcy who would have been doing the handoff, maybe that didn't happen because she was already missing by that point. So this message seems to be left by someone who was maybe working with Marcy, likely one of her friends, since they ask about her whereabouts, right? It's like they're trying to find her. So we kind of theorize that one of this group of kids is doing this, posted this note to try to find Marcy. Obviously, then Nancy, Frank, and Joe go to this cabin A43, and it's not an occupied cabin. No one is staying inside, so they go inside and find a note left in response to the note from the bulletin board that says, yes, they're still interested in the discs, and to come to the ruins in Cozumel at high noon. So I did a little bit of research. Probably the ruins they are talking about in Cozumel are named San Gervasio. Just FYI. There are a few different sites of ruins in Cozumel, but I think that's the biggest, most popular tourist site, probably the one they're talking about.
Awesome.
I just thought it was weird that they didn't name them. It felt a little racist to me. Like, why can't we talk more specifically? Like, what do you mean, ruins? Also, Mayan ruins, Kori. So
pretty cool.
Like, why would we not talk about actually the interesting history behind this? I don't know, instead of just using it as a backdrop for a missing white girl. You know what I mean?
We don't really talk about, because like there's one time where we get off the boat, we go do an excursion thing. We don't actually talk about the excursion at all. We're actually at the ruins, and it's just like, oh, there's some bricks. Anyway, the story.
Yeah.
Like, we don't talk about the setting. We don't
talk about what it
say
looks
what
like
Nancy's
even.
seeing. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of steps. They just describe a lot of stairs she has to climb, and that's it.
So I just wanted to add that in there to give us some geographical, historical context a little bit, because it's missing from the story. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So they decide that Nancy and Joe are going to go to these ruins to try to catch whoever is trying to buy these discs and who may have kidnapped Marcy. And Frank is going to stay on board because, again, they're still trying to solve this issue of this thief on board. They're still trying to trap him and use this fake passenger's cabin. And they think that when everyone's not on board, that this is a likely time for this thief to strike because rooms will be empty, right? Joe heads off to bed, but he stops on deck to talk to the moon. I love this. This is peak Joe Hardy behavior. I don't even remember what he talks about. Hold on. I need to find it and read it because it's so funny.
It's so delightful.
Okay. I went right to it. All right. Joe Hardy stopped on the way back to his room to lean against the rail on the Princess deck and look out to sea. He was standing in almost the same spot he had been when he went overboard. He looked down at the long drop into the water and then up at the sky. "Hey, moon," Joe said. You missed it. I made a great dive the other day. Dynamite form. Slipping into the water like a hand into a glove.
Oh.
Like, why? He's just talking to the moon. Like, literally talking to the moon. I think it's so funny. So
Never changed, Joe Hardy. That's amazing.
Anyway, so he then hears this girl crying nearby. It turns out to be Gail. So he goes over to comfort her and then realizes, gosh, she's so attractive. And then they make out. Meanwhile, Nancy and Frank have decided that they are going to go for a private moonlight swim while the pool's closed. Oh my God.
Mhm.
So Nancy goes to change. She specifically puts on a swimsuit that she thinks she looks really good in.
I bet she does.
She spares a brief thought for Ned, and then she heads to the pool.
Not brief enough.
She goes to the pool. She sees Frank's already in it. So she does something that she thinks is super cool. She's like, this is going to be so cool when I do
So
this.
impressive.
So impressive. She dives under the water so that she'll surface, right next to him. It's a way to like, ha, I'm here.
I can picture it. It's so cute.
So she does this. She does this dive. She pops up right in front of him. But he's floating face down. She's like, oh, Frank, like, stop joking around. Like, come on. And so she pushes him. And then she hears Frank over her shoulder outside the pool. Wait. Who's this right in front of us? This isn't Frank. It's someone's dead body. Oh my God. The scream, I would scrumped.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I would be out of this pool so fast. But so, okay, Frank and Nancy pull this guy out of the pool. They call the captain, who identifies him as being a crew member, Julio Aguirre. And Nancy instantly wonders if he's the guy who Marcy and Pipeline was meeting, right? Because he has kind of a Spanish name. Now he's dead. This is really suspicious. Does that mean maybe that there was a third party who's interested in the discs then? If Julio is dead, Marcy's missing. Who's the one leaving the notes? Right? And, are they the one who put that note in the cabin to arrange tomorrow's meeting instead of Julio? And they killed Julio to make sure that he couldn't show up at the ruins too. And if Julio's dead, does this mean Marcy's dead? So anyway, they go and they search Julio's cabin, and it certainly seems like he's prepared to examine computer disks. He has like a laptop and like a ton of notes in code, but they can't actually find any disks in his room, which seems weird for someone who has a laptop. Remember, this is 1988, so probably a really big laptop. And if you had a laptop, you would have a reason for it, but they can't really find any reason that he would have it outside of being ready to receive CIA disks, right? And they can't find anything else in his cabin to give them any kind of clues. So they go to bed. And when Nancy goes back to her cabin, she finds George standing on her head. Like, this is what I'm talking about. This book is so unserious. Like, George is just doing yoga, headstanding in the middle of their tiny bunk bed room on this ship. So funny. But so Nancy tells her about everything that happened this evening, and George actually confirms that she was with David all night. So it's probably not David who killed this guy, so I guess that's good news. And George does say, though, that she didn't see anyone else from this group. So jury's still kind of out on most of them. The next morning at breakfast, we learned from Joe that the thief struck again, and $2,000 was stolen from a passenger's room last night after they went to bed. Then they see this whole group of the CIA kids come into breakfast, and to Nancy's surprise, Gail comes over to their table, and she apologizes to Nancy for how mean she was the other day, and she asks Nancy to join, or she can join them for breakfast this morning. And she does, and she acts like a totally different person. She's openly chatting about her school and her friends. She's not being weird and closed off and rude anymore. And then she asks Nancy if she's going into Cozumel and if she wants to go with her, if they want to go together. And Nancy's like, oh, maybe I'll see you there, but I have some errands that I have to run in town first. They have to go to the police station to tell them about Julio being dead and Marcy being missing. So afterwards, Nancy goes to the gangway and waits for Joe and the captain because they're going to go do this together before she goes to head to the ruins with Joe. But Nancy is interrupted by Gail, who says she just saw Marcy in a hallway downstairs. So Nancy and Gail run down, and Gail leads Nancy to this area of the ship that's clearly just used for storage. And Gail points to an open closet saying, oh, Marcy went in there. And Nancy is like immediately sus, like, oh no, I don't think Marcy's in there. But it's too late. She gets pushed into the closet from behind and gets locked in. So.
Nancy.
I know. It was so obvious. She suddenly comes over, starts being all buddy-buddy. Of course she wants to do something. My gosh.
And then, oh, come quick. I just saw her. Well, why didn't you follow her? Oh, because I had to come back here and get you first.
Weird.
Well, what was she doing? Running away from me? Well, why didn't you follow her? Why? This is strange.
Yeah.
So Nancy tries to get out. She even tries to karate chop the door. None of this works. Very luckily, though, Joe happened to be watching upstairs and actually followed Nancy and Gail down here. And he just waits until Gail leaves and then he lets Nancy out. So it's fine. So once they get into port, they hurry into town with the captain to report the crimes to the police. And they say that they will keep an eye out for Marcy, but otherwise they can't really do much, that the FBI will probably do more anyway when they get back to the U.S. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So Nancy and Joe head to the ruins, and immediately they spot Demetrios and Gail there. So they split up. Nancy follows Demetrios, and Joe follows Gail.
Which also, I'm sorry, can we talk about this for a second? Why was this the choice?
I don't know.
Why are they sending Nancy to follow the big burly Demetrios and Joe to follow Gail? Is it because Joe wants to make out with Gail again?
I don't really get the Joe Gail thing.
We don't talk about that after he just saw Gail push Nancy into a closet. It's like, oh, I guess maybe Gail isn't as great as I thought. No, there's no examination of that at all.
No, and we still have like a little crush on Gail at the end of this story.
Absolutely, we do.
Weird.
But anyway.
Weird, but yeah, Joe's gonna go follow Gail, and Demetrios is taking pictures, but just like intently taking very specific pictures of the ruins and nothing else, so that's kind of weird. And then Nancy spots another one in the group, Connor. He is holding the same bag that Marcy / Pipeline, if that is her name, holding that same bag with the tapes in it. So she thinks that he's the one here to do this drop-off that they're planning. So she starts following him. But unfortunately, it's so hot and the crowds are so impossible that she can't really keep up with him. And then all of a sudden, there's this little boy that comes out of nowhere and starts following Nancy around, asking her to buy a map from him. And so with all these distractions, she does ultimately end up losing Connor in the crowd. And then out of nowhere, she can kind of see in the distance, she spots Connor in the distance, that the police show up and lead him away. And he seemed very cooperative when he went, so it's not like he was being arrested, supposedly. Right. So Nancy asks around, and other people nearby say that they took him because apparently a body just washed up on shore, and they want him to identify it because it probably is Marcy.
Ugh.
Awful. Yeah. But before Nancy can do anything else, the boy that was trying to sell her a map is back, and he says that there's a man that says Nancy needs to come somewhere. She's like, oh, there's this guy asking about you. You need to come with me, and I'll take you to the guy. And Nancy's like, oh, it's Joe. Clearly. Obviously, right? Who else would it be? So the little boy's like, come follow me. I'll take you to him. So she follows this little boy, and they like go inside one of the ruins. And when she gets there, she is jumped from behind and chloroformed. Meanwhile, back on the ship, Frank has struck out on their trap that they'd set up. Someone did break into the empty cabin that's like this fake Maxwell guy's cabin. But before Frank could catch them, they were already gone. And they left a note saying that the this break-in person knows that Maxwell doesn't really exist and knows that this was a trap. So, haha, in your face, I guess.
All right.
Frank decides that after all this hard work, it is time to relax with the ginger ale. So he heads to the ship's bar where he finds George. George confirms the alibi for the bartender Rick for the time of the break-in because she Frank thinks that it could be Rick because Rick is one of the few crew members who is also still here. But George does alibi him for the time of the break-in. And he also he asks George to go get the chef's alibi as well. So she does, and that's fine as well. All solid. And so Frank knows that this other suspect of his, Esteban, has been in the infirmary all day. So that is the entirety of his suspect list. So he is back to square one. Great. A little while later, Joe returns to the ship with Gail, arm in arm. No big deal. No, Gail is really upset because she and Connor have just had to go and see this body and try to identify it.
Content warning.
Yeah, content warning because of how drowning happens, swelling happens, and not to get too graphic here, but basically the body was not identifiable because of the effects. So not great, but also just not a great situation that they've had to go do this, so obviously they're not in the best mood right now. Nancy is still not back, however, and they even see Demetrios return, and they're like, wait, wasn't Nancy supposed to be with him, following him, so why shouldn't she be right behind him? So they all start getting worried, and they tell the captain to keep the gangplank down for Nancy, and they're all going to go head into the city to try to track her down. Meanwhile, Nancy wakes up from her chloroforming situation and finds that she is tied up, and she's been, battered a little bit. I guess because they dragged her body, not that they'd beaten her while she was unconscious, but It's not super clear. She's got a bunch of cuts and bruises all over her, and she finds that she's in a cave. And it's really, really dark in here, and she does try to shout for help, but then realizes that there is a colony of bats living in this cave because her shout almost disturbs them into flying into a frenzy. So
hope you got your rabies shot before you left, Nancy.
Yeah. This is actually when Nancy starts to put things together. Just little context clues here. This is actually pretty clever. She realizes that it must be dusk because the bats are starting to wake up at this time and they are starting to fly out of the cave. So she uses that as an indication of where the mouth of the cave is. It's so dark she can't even tell where the exit is.
Yeah.
So she follows the bats to the exit of the cave. She is able to see the skyline of the city in the distance, and she can kind of see the area where the ruins are. So she just starts walking that way in hopes that it doesn't take her a full day to get back to a city. Luckily, a police cruiser happens to be passing by, and so just after a few minutes, she gets picked up by them. The ship did leave without her, by the way.
So much for George and Frank and Joe going to look for her, I guess.
Yeah, we kind of cut and we don't see their point of view, but I presume they did go look for her for a few minutes and then it was just
gave up.
And they just gave up.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking if you and I are on a cruise, somehow we get separated, which first of all would never happen. We would never split up. But somehow we get separated. You don't show up back to the boat before we're about to leave. If you haven't communicated with me where you are, you're just MIA?
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm getting on that boat without you? Are you serious?
Goodness.
Some friends.
They act like this is not a big deal. It happens all the time for the cruise ship. I mean, not that Frank and Joe.
It does happen all the time where people get left behind on cruise ships. But yeah.
Yeah, the police act like it's not a big deal. But Frank and Joe should think it's a bigger deal than it is because this isn't a normal thing for their lives.
Well, and they know, by the way, that they're investigating something dangerous and people have turned up dead. So...
And the last place we saw Nancy was following Demetrios. He comes back alone. I'm looking at Demetrios, questions are being asked. The captain needs to, pause that gangplank. Yeah.
Maybe he did. We don't know if he did and then for how long or what.
Yeah. But, it seems like they went out, gave up, came back to the ship, and the captain's like, we can't wait any longer. We gotta go. So I guess that's what happens. Actually, the captain did contact the police before they left and like let them know that Nancy was missing and was like, keep an eye out for her, I guess. But otherwise, we're leaving.
If I'm Frank Hardy, okay, like fine. If I'm George, I'm not getting back on that boat.
No.
Without my friend. Like, okay,
I
maybe
can't believe
some of
any
them
of them
have to
did.
stay. Maybe like they want to split up and leave like Frank on, you know, on shore to look for Nancy and the rest of them stay on the boat. But like to just completely abandon her like that is wild. It's wild.
And then when she does okay, sorry, let me just we'll get there. So the captain told the police to look out for Nancy. So I guess that's what prompted them to go out driving randomly, or maybe the police that pick her up seem to have knowledge of what's going on. They're like, oh, you're that girl that got left by the cruise ship. Let's take you back. So they take her back to the city. And of course, this is when she's told that she already missed the ship. But don't worry, because the police are already arranging like a boat ride for her to get her to the ship. And so Nancy's like waiting around for the police boat and it's just taking them too long. And they're like, oh yeah, it's probably going to be a few hours. Well, goodness, how long, like...
Where is the ship going to be?
Exactly. How long is it going to take to get to the ship in a few hours? So Nancy finds just like a local random fisherman and is like, hey, are you about to go out and can you take me with you? And he's like, sure, come on. And this random fisherman takes her back to the cruise.
Wild.
So that's great, I guess. And instead of telling her friends, like, hey, by the way, I made it back to the boat, she just goes straight to the captain. And he tells her that he's been in touch with the CIA and they asked him to just leave the situation alone, not to ask questions, and they will meet the boat and these diplomats' kids whenever they get back to Miami. Nancy is mad now, though, because not only are Marcy and Julio now dead, she's been drugged and kidnapped. And she does say multiple times in this story that they tried to kill her as well. And I have to argue that they did not, Nancy. If they wanted you dead, you wouldn't have woken up in the cave. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah. They did assault you. They did kidnap you. They didn't try to kill you in this moment. This right here was not an attempted murder.
Yeah.
Other stuff later, sure. But multiple times she's like, they almost killed me at the ruins.
Unless they were like trying to arrange death by bats, which...
Right. Or just exposure, I guess.
Yeah.
There would have been a lot easier ways to do it had they wanted that done, and they didn't. So I have to argue that it was not an attempted murder. It was just a drugging and a kidnapping. But the captain says that it is okay with him if she keeps investigating, provided nobody else finds out. Fine. Then she runs into George, who isn't like, oh, hey, you made it. George is like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to talk right now because I'm working, so keep it brief. Whatever. And then Nancy goes to bed because, of course, she's exhausted from having been drugged and left in a cave and made to walk back to town. But as she's drifting off to sleep, she feels something brushing her hand. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Nancy, like, instead of finding the Hardy Boy, she hasn't even told the Hardy Boy she's made it back yet. She briefly sees George in the hallway and then is like, I'm going to bed.
I'm busy. Sorry.
Yeah. See ya.
Which...
What? This is weird writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Nancy just like is like, I'm just gonna have an early night. I'm just gonna go get cozy. And does go get in bed and then feels something on her hand. And when she like pulls the covers back and looks down, there is a scorpion right there. She also calls this an attempted murder, which I don't know if I agree with that either. But.
Yeah, I've never been stung by a scorpion. I know it's supposed to be really, really painful.
Yeah.
But I don't know how likely you are to die unless it's like a really specific type of scorpion, which I don't think are particularly common. But we don't know what kind of scorpion this is. I don't know.
It's also, she's acting like she's like trapped with the scorpion. Yeah. It's like you can just walk to the other side of the room. They're not particularly fast. I mean, they can run, but like
they
not.
Can be a little bit aggressive and territorial. Sure. Also, depending on the type of scorpion.
But it's not like it can fly, you know? It's not like it's gonna like, she runs away from it and it like flies after her or something and stings her that way, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like we're thinking of Scorpion a la Shadow Ranch, where when you go to the ghost town, it's like a scorpion that's about to strike. If you don't back away, it's gonna get you.
I was actually thinking about the scene in Old Attic at the very end. It's a spider in that, not a scorpion, but she's like tied up in the dark and left with the spider to like roam around the room and eventually find her. That's different. You could potentially call that an attempted murder, sure.
Yeah, if you consider that a Black Widow could kill you, which is like probably not immediately. Like you'd have to suffer a lot for a long time.
Assuming that the spider and scorpion both have an equal chance of murdering us. You know, the one where she's tied up and left, single space is different than her like climbing into bed, seeing that there's a scorpion there and walking away from it. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's a little different.
Totally. She does end up smashing it with her phone. Like her bedside phone, not like a cell phone, because remember 1988? She
her landline.
Picks up the landline and smashes that mofo. Without getting stung. And for some reason, this was what prompts her to track down Frank and Joe. Because she's like, no, this is too much. Kidnapping and drugging is one thing. Scorpion in my bed is where I draw the line. And she goes to find them, even though it's like in the early hours of the morning now. But they have also just gotten back to their cabin, so they're still awake, luckily. And so she tells him, like, no, guys, it's serious now. We've got to track down these tapes. And so they make a plan. They agree to distract Connor at this dinner masquerade party that evening that's happening. And when the coast is clear, she's going to go break into Connor's room to search for these tapes. So they do that. And at dinner, they even have like performing magicians single Connor out and like pull him up on stage so that he'll be like fully unable to leave. And then they signal Nancy to go search his room. It's actually really funny and quite clever.
That's clever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she does this. She does have to fend off another costumed passenger who hits on her, which is really random, but is otherwise able to open the door to Connor's cabin. Except there seems to be something blocking the door. So she like tries to like push it open harder. It's like moving a little bit, but like not a lot. And so she pushes just enough to be able to squeeze through, only to see that what is blocking the door is a body. It's David lying here. He's unconscious, but he has a pulse. And so Nancy calls the ship's doctor. And once the doctor comes in, David wakes up. He explains that he just came in here to borrow a sweater from Connor, but someone else was in the room and he got jumped from behind. Nancy looks around, but nothing seems stolen from the cabin, though I don't know how she's exactly in a position to know that.
Yeah, true.
And David does still have money in his pockets, so David wasn't robbed. So Nancy worries that the thief was here to steal the discs, and like it wasn't like Frank and Joe's thief, that it was like the CIA secret thief, right?
Wouldn't the room kind of look ransacked in that case?
Unless he knew where they were and could find them really easily.
Perhaps.
I don't know, but you would think. David says he can't remember anything specific about this person that jumped him, except that whenever they hit him over the head, like some pieces of tobacco fell onto him. I don't really understand the mechanics of how this situation worked. Because presumably once you get knocked over the head, then you fall to the ground. And by that point, you're unconscious. So I don't know how you would notice the tobacco falling on you. Unless it was like as he was reaching up over him, the tobacco fell. And you took that moment to notice instead of noticing some guy's in here about to hit me over the head. I don't know.
You would think Nancy would like notice on his unconscious body that there was tobacco leaves on him or something.
Yeah.
That's different.
Whatever. But
okay,
that's what David says. He says, I noticed some tobacco leaves fell on me when this guy hit me over the head. And Nancy finds some of these pieces on the floor, and David is then taken away by the doctor to the infirmary. Afterwards, Nancy does a thorough search of the cabin, and she can't locate the discs, so she goes to reconvene with the Hardy Boys after the masquerade party. They decide that what they'll do is pretend that they have the tapes and leave a message for Connor to come to the cabin where the note leaver like originally set up that noon meeting at the ruins. So that way Connor will show up, admit that he has the tapes, and that he like knows about what's been going on so that they can question him about everything, right? Also, Nancy realizes that the note that the thief left to taunt the Hardy Boys about, like, fake Maxwell Schweik trap or whatever is written in eyeliner. And so she thinks that the person who wrote that is a woman, which is something that the Hardy Boys had not considered. Nice little reverse there, Uno reverse on them, which I appreciate. They did think that because Lillian Halleck said it was a man who broke into her room, so it wasn't like they didn't think that for no reason, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, and Frank thinks it's crayon at first. He's like, that writing is so strange. It's almost like blocky, like a crayon, or like choppy looking.
Yeah, like
it's
a man
not smooth,
who's
like a pen.
Never used makeup before in his life.
Doesn't have to be a woman, Nancy. Plenty of men wear eyeliner. So.
Especially in the 80s. Come on. So, but anyway, they ask Nancy to give them a little bit of time to look into this new information before they spring this trap on Connor. Unfortunately, now that we think, oh, maybe it's a woman, our list of suspects is even longer than the list of male suspects we had. So they're out of luck, and they just then decide, okay, let's go ahead and slip the note under Connor's door and then stake out the cabin. Eventually, Connor does come and open the door to this cabin, but when he sees that it's them inside, the Hardys tackle him and bring him in. They manage to get out of him confirmation of Nancy's theory that Marcy was pipelining and that she disappeared after meeting with her contact that first time, and that Connor was helping her and then afterwards was trying to find her after she disappeared. He says, though, that none of their other friends know about this, that it was just him and Marcy who were involved. His other friends are just really loyal and do whatever they ask each other to do without question. So, that's why Gail was helping and Demetrios was, I guess, attacking Joe or whatever. So,
jeez.
Can you imagine?
These kids are too trusting.
And he tells us that Marcy initiated this whole business because she hates her father and wants to humiliate him and ruin his career.
Ma'am, this is treason. You could both go to prison.
Yeah. The reason why she hates him is because he's just been a super neglectful parent. He's not ever around, and her mother had passed away at one point, and he didn't even show up for the funeral, which Marcy had to deal with alone. So I mean, there's reason to hate this man.
Yeah.
But maybe let's not involve espionage.
Let's not get other people killed because you hate him so much,
Right. Especially your friends.
Yeah.
So so she knew how to get info that access his work information, I guess. And she independently contacted an unnamed South American embassy offering this info for sale. But Nancy tells Connor that she thinks that a third party is involved now and is the one who took Marcy, not her embassy contact, because she's pretty sure that that person was Julio, who is obviously the guy they found dead in the pool. And when she tells Connor about the tobacco that David mentioned, Connor starts to panic because apparently, wait for it, you guys, there is some legendary Russian super agent named Andrei Besmerkov, and he's known for smoking a really unique blend of tobacco. I guess it's his tell or something. And so Connor is this is him, and now we're all dead.
Awesome.
Because we had to bring Russia into it.
Oh,
if this is a story about the CIA in the 80s, you better believe the Russians are involved.
Oh my gosh.
So we will continue on with our summary in just a minute after this break.
So we're back, and the hatred of Russians does not stop there. We learn more about this Andre guy. Apparently he is very old school and believes that it is his patriotic duty to kill as many Americans as possible.
Wow.
At least now, though, Connor is on the same page as Nancy, Frank, and Joe, and they all agreed to try to work together to get the tapes back. So the next day, they meet up and discuss possible suspects for who this Andrei Besmerkov guy could actually be. they land on 4 different people outside of Connor, who is currently being guarded by a crew member for his safety. And they all try to split up to figure out which one of these 4 people could actually be the Russian agent. The person that Nancy is assigned to follow is actually the brother of the chef on board who had attacked her that one time in the room with his knife. He tells us that the chef is actually just diabetic and, oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Doesn't want anyone to know about his diabetes under the fear that it could get him fired because he's worried that people might think that he could eventually go blind from his diabetes and doesn't want to lose his job opportunities.
This is wild.
Yeah, so
I guess this is like a reference to ableism here.
Well, yeah.
Like, people wanting to fire people because they're blind and or diabetic.
Right.
But like, that seems like a really long way to go.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Because he's not blind yet.
Right.
He hasn't suffered, any effect from his diabetes like this, any kind of impairment from his diabetes.
But that is a possibility for diabetes, just in general.
Yes, just in general. But that hasn't happened to him yet. But he's worried that at one point it's going to happen. And because it might happen at some point, then people wouldn't want to hire him now. I don't understand.
Yeah. But all of that to say that the only reason that the chef and the brother have been like suspicious-y and evadey of things is because they are both trying to like get Nancy to stop investigating the chef and also just like hide the chef's diabetic secret in general, which she wasn't even looking into him in the first place. They just happened to notice that Nancy was investigating people and were like, she is definitely coming for his job.
Lord.
Goodness. Okay. Joe also strikes out on the guy that he was supposed to follow.
I don't get this one. I don't understand what's happening here. Joe is like following him, but then at some point he like turns around and starts following Joe.
Yeah.
And gets Joe to try to tell him why Joe's following him. He even offers to like pay Joe for Joe to tell him who hired Joe to follow him.
Yeah.
And so makes Joe think that it's not this guy.
Right.
I'm like, I mean, I guess it is kind of like sloppy and overt if this person is supposed to be like a intelligence operative or something, but anyway.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't make any sense what's happening. And I also don't understand who this man is. And I don't think we talk about it later. He's just like some paranoid guy. He also apparently is like trying to find people's secrets on board. He like pays people for information, but like why? We never know.
That's right.
We never find out.
Yeah, this is so insignificant. I had forgotten until now, but I do remember.
It doesn't impact the plot at all. Nothing happens with him later. We don't even talk about him again later, but it's so weird. It's so bizarre. He literally tells Joe he just likes to know people's secrets and he starts offering him money for secrets. It's like, who are you? Okay. But don't worry, he's not the Russian spy. The guy paying for secrets, that's not him. That's just a separate problem that we're not going to address. It literally is, though. It literally is. And I'm like, why are we not talking about this? Who is this guy?
He loves being in people's business so much that he will pay to find out secrets about strangers he will never see again.
So creepy.
People watch, bro. Just go people watch on the main concourse.
Like, does he go back to his cabin and jerk off after like someone has like been like, guess what? So and so is cheating at the card table. Like what?
Great. Okay.
Cool.
So is this guy a blackmailer and we just skip over it?
Maybe. Yeah, there's an entirely third subplot happening on this boat that none of us know about. For. Some other crime. We just can't. We're too busy.
Yeah.
Too busy.
Too much going on. He can fly under the radar. He gets away with the blackmail just because there's actual murder going on. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, so for some reason, Joe rules this guy out because if you're being this shady, there's no way that you could be a shady guy. So, moving on to Frank. Frank is following that Baron guy, the one who like keeps being annoying and popping up with the questions about the camera. So, this actually, I can't remember exactly what happens, but the Baron just keeps trying to like ask Frank questions anyway, and asks Frank to like take photos of him with his camera, like of him and his wife just on the deck or whatever. And so Frank is like so sick of following this guy around taking his pictures that he's like, it can't be this guy because this guy doesn't care about anything except like the perfect sunset photo, and that's it.
Well,
and like
also it's that he's like asking for pictures of himself, and Frank doesn't think that someone who is a spy would want their picture taken.
Right. Yes.
So,
gosh. Connor then tells Frank that the captain has asked to see him. So Frank heads to the captain's quarters, and apparently there has been another theft. This time from a guy who was loudly bragging about his casino wins. He mentions a pretty little dark-haired blackjack dealer, and Frank realizes that the blackjack dealer must be the thief because almost all of the victims had been playing at the casino that day and had their casino winnings stolen. Except, wait, Miss Halleck didn't go gambling at the casino because her friend even mentioned that they don't gamble. So weird that everyone was gambling except for one person. And Frank actually remembers that Faith, Mrs. Halleck's companion, claimed to be reading in her room all evening, but is it Frank that says this or Nancy? Something about the bookmark that they remembered that the bookmark in her book was only like 2 pages into the story. And so she was reading all night. How did she only get 2 pages in?
Unless she's a really slow reader.
Or she was at the casino when she said she was in her room. So we go talk to her and we learn that, yes, her friend just doesn't like gambling and she didn't want her friend to know that she was gambling. But yes, she was actually gambling and didn't tell her friend because her friend disapproves. But she did actually win $3,000 and that is what was stolen from their room.
Yeah. This is why I think that they are lovers, because...
Why would you keep this from your friend?
Well, why would you care if your friend disapproved of your gambling? Or like, why would you be friends if like you were like you liked
they were
different
judging you
things
that way
and they were judging you like that? No, they were absolutely in a relationship. And Vivian is like, don't do any gambling, Faith. It's so bad. And Faith is like, okay. But then goes to sneak to the casino and doesn't want to tell her partner
because $3,000 were stolen, and that's not fun to explain.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Confirmed. Canon.
And of course they don't want people to know about it because it's 1988 and people are homophobic and everything. So I'm just saying, it just makes a lot of sense to me.
Seems like Miss Halleck is just trying to get out of trouble with her wife. I'm sorry.
Yes!
Anyway, so Frank and Joe head to the casino to talk to this blackjack dealer. Her name is actually Wendy Larson. But Joe actually gets called away by the guy he was following earlier, and Frank takes this opportunity to get a soda from the bartender, Rick. So Frank is just like sitting there at the bar, sipping the soda, and then the room starts to spin and get darker, and Frank just passes out. Meanwhile, George is following our fourth possible suspect for whoever this Andrei Besmerkov guy is. This guy's name is Pete Porter. He smokes a pipe, which is the reason he is on our suspect list. And she's able to talk to him about it and learns that this is just like cheap, standard tobacco. It's not like a special blend or anything. So automatically this guy is out of the running now too.
I thought this was crazy because like... this guy could just not be smoking the special blend all the time. Or like, what if this Andre guy decided it was too expensive? He needed to cut back. Like, you know what I mean?
Or it was too identifying.
Or yes, that. But he still likes to smoke. And so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe he's lying because George can't identify tobacco. She even says this in the book. She's like, I don't know anything about tobacco. What kind of tobacco are you smoking? And he's like, oh, no, it's just some cheap thing. He could just be lying, and it could be the really expensive blend that he's known for, but he doesn't want people to, doesn't tell her that because he's known for it.
George isn't exactly Sherlock Holmes with his encyclopedic knowledge of tobacco ash smells, you know?
Yeah.
Jeez. So we flash actually to Joe at this point, who saw Frank pass out. Frank is recovering a little bit here, and so Joe just leaves him on like a deck chair.
Yes.
While he goes to follow
He's
things
like
up.
just waking up, and Joe's like, "Gotta dash."
Oh, you're good? Oh, you're alive. Okay, I'm leaving.
Bye.
But yes, it's pretty clear that Frank Soda was drugged. And who could have done that?
Who, Kori?
Who could have done that?
Who could have done it? Who was around?
Who had access?
When Frank got that soda, who was there? I can't think of anyone. Yeah.
That evening, Nancy is dressed up for the final ball of the trip. I guess they have some sort of fancy event tonight because the ship is docking tomorrow. And so, of course, now we're under a time crunch. We have a deadline. First thing she does is she goes to try to track down Frank in the ship's dark room because, again, he's the photographer. He is supposed to have all these photos that he's developed. All the photos he's taken on the trip so far. He's supposed to have them developed by the time they dock tomorrow. So he's not in the dark room, but she does hear someone else in the room and briefly wonders if it could be Besmerkov. She even says hello, but nobody is there. Because I guess there's two rooms. There's the photography studio, but then inside of that, there's a further room inside of that. That's the dark room. So she's in there. She doesn't hear anybody respond to her. So she decides to go look at all the photos that Frank is developing, hoping that maybe she'll be able to just magically figure out who Besmerkov is from these photos. She opens up a drawer and finds that cufflink that someone had lost at the start of the story and realizes oh, nobody ever claimed it. And then Nancy realizes, oh, maybe that's because the cufflink belonged to Besmerkov and he didn't want to go claim it because then it would place him wherever he wasn't supposed to be. Even though, again, we don't know when it was lost. That's okay. So she grabs all of the photos from her room and takes them to her cabin so that she can rifle through them in privacy, and she's going to look through them to see who in this is wearing cufflinks. Maybe the guy who lost it was wearing them in a picture before it fell off. So later that night, George finishes up whatever and comes to join her, and they look through all the photos together. And we learn from George that ever since they left Cozumel, David hasn't really spoken to her much, which is weird for one, but it also makes her sad because she likes the guy, and he hasn't even said that he wants to keep in touch after the cruise, anything like that. And Nancy finally spots someone in a photo wearing a cufflink. And it's the Baron, the one who's obsessed with the photos and asking about Frank's camera. But just as she turns to George to say, look, that's him, a voice behind her says, yeah, that's me. And says, you ladies better not turn around because I have a gun pointed at you right now.
Oh,
Nancy gets a bright idea. She throws George to the ground, turns off the light, and then, in the chaos, she hears the gun go off, and then there's complete silence, and she shouts, George, are you okay? And no answer. So, meanwhile, Joe is back at the casino talking to Rick, the bartender who had served Frank the soda when he'd ordered it. And he asked Rick, he's like, who would have had an opportunity to get to this soda between the time you served it and when it landed at Frank's table? And Rick's like, I have no idea. The bar was so crowded then. Who could have done it? And Joe's like, I'm pretty sure it was you, Rick. He says that to himself. He knows that it was Rick.
Yeah.
But to Rick, he's like, oh, I have to run because there's a party in the captain's cabin. And Joe's supposed to be a busboy. He's like, I got to go work this party in the cabin. And it's going to go till 2 a.m. So I'm going to be really busy all night. And no one's going to be in our room. Okay, Rick? Do you hear me? No one's going to be in our room from now until 2 a.m. Got it? Anyway, so he goes to the kitchen to tell all this to Frank. And they think that Wendy and Rick are working together. So Wendy's the blackjack dealer and Rick the bartender. And now, of course, Rick thinks they're both out of commission. So Joe and Frank make a plan to stake out the casino. And they actually spot Wendy setting up an elderly woman. And it's clear that she's fixing the game so that the woman will win really big on the game. And then she does, of course, and she leaves the casino, and Frank and Joe intercept her and actually ask her to sleep in a different cabin and take the money to the ship's safe. And then Frank and Joe, this is actually really smart.
Yeah.
Yes. Frank and Joe pretend to be asleep in the woman's cabin. So inevitably, when the vampire comes in, the person in the vampire mask comes in, Frank and Joe just jump them and easily subdue them. So they do all this, and it is, of course, Wendy. And she immediately says that Rick should have poisoned Frank's drink, not just drugged him. So, of course, this confirms that they were in on it together.
Yeah.
Frank and Joe take Wendy and Rick to the captain, who locks them up for the remainder of the trip, and he thanks them for solving the case. It's like 2 a.m. at this point, though, so the boys think that Nancy and George are probably already in bed, and they decide not to check on them. They're just going to meet up with them in the morning so they don't wake them up. Little do they know, though, that they are currently being held at gunpoint by Besmerkov / Baron von Hoffman. But George did not get shot. Thankfully, I know we left that on a little bit of cliffhanger. She is fine.
Yep. So it turns out that Besmerkov, I don't know how you pronounce his name, put a listening device in Nancy's cabin. And that is how he's been kind of staying one step ahead of them on all of this. Duh. Why did we not think to sweep for bugs? I don't know. We're literally in a CIA drama. That's like step one.
Yeah.
Someone's listening, you know? Someone's in the other room with the tape spinning. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Whatever. It's fine. So he tells Nancy and George that he's known about the plans to sell the discs ever since Marcy and Connor sent the message to the embassy. He intercepted it somehow. He will not say where the discs are. He does have them, but he does admit to putting the scorpion in Nancy's bed and to killing Julio. He tells us that he drugged him and put him in the pool, which is really sad.
Yeah.
He also sent the note to Connor to meet him at the ruins, but the police got to Connor there first. So he instead just took the opportunity to drug Nancy and leave her in a cave, trying to like get her out of the way.
Not to kill her.
Not to kill her. Yeah. He had heard about Nancy's plan to search Connor's room, and so he beat her there and stole the tapes, and he's the one who attacked David. And at this point, he makes Nancy, this is diabolical, he makes Nancy and George put on their sneakers because they're all still kind of dressed fancy from this like last night dinner or whatever. And so he makes them put on their sneakers and tie their shoelaces together so that they like can't take full steps. And then he then asks for his cufflink back, weirdly, because he says it was a gift from Sophie, who's like someone very important to him. I'm like, is this the one that you brought on the cruise? Is like your wife actually here? Who's the girl posing as your wife? Is she another Russian agent? Where is she?
Right.
Because this
I had
is
a lot
the
of
thing.
questions about that, too.
I have questions about the wife. Because it doesn't seem like she's another Russian agent, because if she were, then surely she would be helping him.
Right.
If she's not a Russian agent, who is she?
Nah.
Is she just like a civilian? He's like, I need someone for cover, but he's not going to tell them that, so he's just putting someone at risk? Or is it his actual wife?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know. Is Sophie the wife?
Yeah, I don't know. That's true. Could be. Could not be. Could be a mistress.
Jeez.
Girlfriend, whatever. So anyway, So Nancy takes this opportunity to like throw it as like try to distract him with that, and then tries to tackle him. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, and Nancy almost gets like sliced by this poisoned blade that he keeps concealed in his walking stick, which is very Lucius Malfoy coded. So then he takes them, walks them all the way down to a room at the bottom of the ship, which Nancy refers to as the anchor room. It's where the anchor kind of lives, the big chain and the whole thing. On this walk, on their way there, Nancy is able to sneakily drop a bit of confetti, hoping it will be a clue for Frank and Joe as to their location.
Thank you, Nancy.
Love it. And then he takes them to the anchor room where we see Marcy. She's not dead. Apparently, the body that washed up in Cozumel was not her. And Besmerkov didn't even arrange it. It was just like a coincidence that someone else had died and washed up on shore.
So we just have another person who's been killed now.
Well, we don't know how they died. They
Well,
could have
true.
drowned. Like, we don't know the circumstances. Like,
But still, another tragic death.
Yes.
It's just like, it's adding up here. There's just so many of these.
uh-huh. And yeah, he only kidnapped Marcy. He only kidnapped Marcy. He didn't kill Marcy. And he's been holding her here. Although apparently when they searched the ship initially, he had her drugged in his bed, which I did not like the vibes of this. This was really gross to me. And like he told the person searching while like Frank had stepped away. Frank purposefully didn't go search the Baron's room because he had, by that point, the Baron had already been like harassing him about photos. So he's like, I can't, if I search the room, I'm never going to get back to the rest of the search. So he had the other crew member go search the Baron's room. And when he did that, the Baron told that guy that the person in the bed was his sick wife.
Where was his wife when Marcy was in her bed?
Great question. And how long was Marcy there?
What is the wife doing during all this?
Maybe it was just like during this search. So maybe it was like an hour and the wife was at the pool or something. We don't know. But was the wife aware of this?
The wife has to know something because the Baron has to step away a lot to go drug people, kill them, follow them here, do this.
I guess
what is she doing
food too to Marcy because she's been here for a long time.
Well,
unless he's just starving her.
I think he's starving her.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Because she's rough when they find her. But yeah.
It's been days. She has to at least have water. Like, otherwise she'd be unconscious, right? Or, like, listless at least, like, unable to talk.
They kind of imply that she's only been in this anchor room for, like, a day or two at this
she's
point.
Been in his room the whole time, drugged in his bed?
Well, he's moved her around, yeah.
Oh, God.
So, they don't specify how long she's been in here, but he says a few things that makes it clear that he doesn't care if any of them have food or water,
well,
so.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, anyway, so he has Nancy tie up George and Marcy to the anchor chain, and then he ties Nancy to it, and he tells them that when the ship docks in Miami, the anchor will be released, and the force of that, they're lucky, will knock them out, knock them unconscious, and then they'll be pulled into the sea where they'll drown.
If they're not literally ripped apart by this chain.
Yeah. This is horrifying. So horrific. And to think of like being tied to this thing while someone is describing what's going to happen to you. I can't imagine.
He literally tells them, he's like, I'm going to tell you because not knowing might be worse. What? What?
When Marcy asks him, why don't you just shoot us? Like, that'll be faster. He says that this is more fun. Psychopath.
Right?
Psychopath. Okay. So he leaves, and now Marcy is obviously, and rightfully so, hysterically crying. And Nancy knows that now her only hope is Frank and Joe finding this random pile of confetti, which, because by the way, it wasn't like she didn't leave it like breadcrumbs. She dropped it like all at once.
Just on the stairs.
Because she wanted to wait for it to be at a spot where Frank and Joe would realize that a normal partygoer wouldn't be. Which I guess makes sense because there could be like other confetti on the floor or whatever, but like, yeah.
But assuming they even go down there to find said confetti in the first place.
Exactly. So they wait tied to this chain for hours. Like it's been hours. And then the ship starts pulling into the harbor. Like the boat horn sounds, and then the chain itself starts to vibrate as it like prepares, I guess, to start lowering. I don't know how the mechanism of this works, and I don't know that the author of this did either, but it's like going. And oh my God, Nancy and George have like the saddest, sweetest interaction here, which honestly I have to read because I just think it's such... I find that this interaction between Nancy and George is probably one of the better representations of Nancy and George's relationship that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Nancy and George stretched their arms as far as they could so that they could hold hands. You know something, Nancy? George said. These summer jobs can be a real drag. You're wonderful, Nancy told her brave friend with as much of a smile as she could manage. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional.
I know. This is so upsetting.
I'm only sorry I got you involved in all this. Hey, George said with a shaky laugh. It beats spending the summer sitting around the pool and watching Bess flirt. Liar, said Nancy affectionately.
Oh.
They think that they're like about to die.
I know.
Oh my God.
But don't worry, George is gonna get a Bess jab in there real quick before she goes. Never mind that George has spent the entirety of this trip flirting with a man who has already assaulted Nancy.
True.
She has to complain that Bess might have flirted with someone had they not been on the cruise. Sorry to ruin the very sweet moment, but I did think that was funny. She's like, Bess.
But I just thought, oh my gosh, like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. It was so, I just found it so emotional. I literally teared up.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is maybe, honestly, the first time I've ever teared up over a Nancy Drew book.
Yeah.
It was such a affectionate, like, a loving, like, moment between the two of them, like, where they're teasing each other, but, like, in their final moments, like, oh my God.
I know.
Anyway. So yes, and then the chain starts to go. It starts to get slowly lowered, and the girls start to get lifted into the air, like slowly, like as this chain rises and starts to go out of the boat. Luckily, just in the nick of time, Frank and Connor arrive, and they are like just able to free the girls. They even like they cut, obviously, George and Marcy off first, and Nancy is the last one there, and Frank is, like, frantically going at her bonds or whatever, and they're having this moment where she's like, oh my God, I'm about to die. 5 seconds, and I'm looking into Frank Hardy's eyes. But anyway, they all fall down in one relieved heap. But Nancy barely takes a second before she's up and running with Frank, because now this Baron Smirkov guy is going to get away with the tapes if they can't stop him. So they run to the gangplank where passengers are already like lined up and starting to disembark. Joe is already there watching, and Nancy sees Besmirkov in line and grabs the nearby staff's megaphone and uses it to tell Joe that that's him. That's the guy right there. So Joe hears this and he runs and tackles him, and they roll down the gangplank and passengers dive out of the way. Joe is just able to wrest the cane out of his hands, and although he is surprised when the blade comes out, he uses this to hold Besmirkov at knife point.
Let's go, Joe!
Then they are suddenly swarmed by CIA agents, supposedly, who have just boarded, and Besmirkov is taken into custody. Cut to all of them, the Hardy Boys, Nancy George, the captain, and all of the CIA kids in a room with a CIA chief, which I don't even know if that is a thing, but whatever. And he commends Nancy, Frank, and Joe and George on their courageous and effective efforts, and even tells them to reach out to him if they ever want to consider a career in intelligence.
Excellent.
ATAC.
Yes. Also, I know that the drama had to be there for this scene, but why were they going to let any passengers off the boat before the police could come on and investigate things? There was a murder.
Yeah.
Come on.
Have you seen, what is it called? This show on Hulu? Watched it a while ago. Death and Other Details is what it's called.
Oh, no, I haven't.
It has Mandy Patinkin in it. You gotta watch it. Because it takes place on a boat, and it's very Hercule Poirot coded.
Oh, okay.
But also, it's really good. But there's also like a blonde kind of character who also acts as a little bit of a detective. She's got secrets, and it's very good.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, in that situation, a crime happens on the boat, and the police fly a helicopter onto the boat to come investigate. Well, yeah,
so not surprising.
Yeah, I don't understand why they wouldn't just delay docking for an hour while just a boat comes out, and they just do at least a quick debrief or something before disembarking. So yeah. Anyway, so this CIA chief chews out the CIA kids, Marcy and Connor in particular, saying that, what they did was put everyone in danger, threatened national security, which was stupid and selfish. Check, 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 check. But he basically just kind of says, well, no harm, no foul, and just don't do it again. And then he lets them go.
That's not,
I don't understand. Okay, to be fair, I don't know what kind of consequences one could do for this outside of arresting them and putting them in jail. which maybe seems extreme if they're supposed to be teenagers. I guess we don't know if they're adults or not. Like, I don't know if they're over 18.
Yeah.
But
I feel like they could be tried for this, though.
Absolutely they could. But I think also part of it, too, is that the CIA didn't want the embarrassment of, like, having this story get out, that, like, the children of their operatives were able to acquire and sell the secrets of their parents. It could be a little concerning to the public opinion of the CIA.
At the very least, they would have to, like, interrogate each kid and not just have, like, a group meeting where it's like, don't do it again, you rascals.
Naughty, naughty.
Yeah.
Wrap you on the wrists with a ruler.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. But anyway. So, he then sends them all home and they all say goodbye to each other. Marcy and Connor apologize for putting everyone in danger, and Demetrios apologizes just for being a jerk and throwing Joe overboard, by the way. And they all actually agree to meet again for a cruise next year?
No, I don't want to see any of you people ever again. Go.
And this makes George and Joe happy, right? Because of their flirtations with David and Gail, respectively. And then George tells Demetrios that she has a cousin, Bess, who would be great for him because she's so shy and quiet and demure. And then this causes Nancy to uncontrollably laugh at the thought of Bess being shy. But I'm sorry, we have to talk about this. What?
This is weird.
It's very weird because Demetrios is a violent person, first of all, pushed Joe overboard, and is apparently a pretty big jerk. But George wants to set him up with Bess?
Of course she does, because she hates
so
Bess.
Much so that she lies about Bess's, like, behavior, because Nancy calls out that it's a lie in the next sentence where she's laughing, so that he will want to go out with Bess? Is this an attempt to sabotage Bess?
Apparently.
Or does she really think that they'd make a good couple? And why would George... Golly!
I think she literally just doesn't like that Demetrios was the only single one. Like, we need to solve that and just offer Bess to you. Because this is a couple thing. Don't we all need to couple up so that it's cute?
Well, like, she's a piece of meat. Like, serving her up on a platter to this awful guy. It sucks. That sucks.
Yep. George, why don't you go out with him?
Oh.
Bet you wouldn't. Because he's crazy and a jerk. Throwing people overboard.
Which, by the way, so is David and Gail.
True, yeah.
We haven't addressed that, but we're just fine. Why? Because they're hot?
Yeah, Joe's even, like, smiling at Gail a little bit in the scene here. It's like, why do you still want to be around her when she just agreed to lock Nancy in that closet or whatever it was with no reservations?
Any questions to
no
her
questions.
Friends. Just does it because they're apparently loyal, and apparently that's better than thinking for yourself. Lord. That was double crossing.
I loved it. I have some issues with it, but it was great.
I loved it too. I just think it was so funny. I think mostly that's what I love about it. I mean, obviously I was annoyed at the instances where Nancy has to get rescued, annoyed at, like, the sexual assault, the ableism, the racism, and, prejudice and all of that, which seems to be present in every book that we can't get away from it. But George stands on her head. Joe talks to the moon. Nancy does a deep dive under the water to get to Frank, and it turns out to be a body. And I just, it's so funny. It's so funny. I just, I don't know. I love it.
It's great. Okay, what was the note you made at the very start that we needed to come back to?
We already talked about it. It was about Lillian and Faith
and
why I thought they were actually gay because of Faith hiding her gambling habits from Vivian.
You clocked it. That's accurate.
They're together. You wouldn't do that just for a friend. It wouldn't matter to a friend. Yeah. No, honestly, I don't know. I don't know that I have very many comments. I would really want all of you to read it, especially if you are Francie stans, because just the amount of like kind of like light angst about Nancy and Frank in this is so good. Like Nancy thinking about Callie, Nancy thinking about Ned, like Nancy being so attracted to him clearly, and then just like feeling not like she can't express it, right? She can't express her frustration at not being able to be closer to Frank because then that would be betraying Ned. So it's just, it has all of that goodness in there. And I just really want you Francie shippers to appreciate it in the same way that I do.
Wasn't there, I think there was one, it was very brief, but one small scene where George comments something about the midnight swim to Nancy.
Yes, I think so.
Something about like, oh, that's so romantic, Nancy.
Yes,
and Nancy's like, no, it's not. No, but to herself, she's like, yeah, it is really romantic.
It absolutely was romantic.
So happy to do this.
Yes.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it was great. Let me see. Of course, it wouldn't be a file without a karate reference. Nancy has to karate chop the door. I had to put that in there. Also, and something else funny, I had to put this in here because it was so relatable. I had to mention this, but so whenever she's in the dark room with like whoever, like she knows someone's in there, but she even thinks that it's Besmirkov, and she's like, Besmirkov, is that you? She like calls it out into the darkness, and I just thought that was so relatable. And I'm like, that's what I would do too. Besmirkov, hello?
Are you out there? Bad guy I'm not even supposed to know about? Is it you?
Answer back if so. Real quick. Like just expecting him to be like, hey, what's up? Yeah, it's me.
It's me.
It's me, your boy.
Here to do a big murder.
Russian agent. Oh, my cheeks hurt. Oh my God.
Oh, I love this book.
It's so good. It's so good.
Well,
Yeah.
Secrets Can Kill was 88 as well. These started in the same year, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That explains why both of these books are so heavy on the espionage, the Russia stuff, but also, yes, why they're so good.
Oh, I just love them so much. I love the files so much. Some of them don't quite measure up to this like level of whatever, but they're all good.
Yeah.
All good.
Seriously. Ever since we covered the Tower Treasure, we've gotten quite a few messages like, please cover more, do House on the Cliff, whatever. Honestly, I really want to cover, if we were ever to come back to a solo Hardy Boys one, I would love to do the first case file.
Yes!
Because I know that there's good stuff in there. I know Iola, obviously, that's the book where that happens. So
I'm obsessed with that.
I know.
That plot line, obsessed with that.
Yeah. Presumably, he's already lost her in this and has moved on to Gale.
Oh my God, you're right. He must have.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe.
I know.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, canonically in the files and the Supermystery, Joe carries around the melted remains of Iola's car keys that were blown up with her in her car. So, I'm obsessed with that Joe Hardy who carries around his dead girlfriend's melted car keys in his pocket as a reminder of her. Yeah. Where's that Joe? Bring that Joe. Joe talking to the moon. I love this Joe. I love this Joe.
Yeah. I didn't love him falling for the mean girl, but
no.
Not that we have any plans necessarily to go back and do a Hardy Boys story anytime soon, but just in the back of our minds, if we did want to do that, that's the one I nominate, is the case files.
That's I'm for that as well. Absolutely.
Although I do want to read House on the Cliff because I've heard so many people tell us that we need to. So.
Well, if we're going by the Nancy Drew standards, I do love Hidden Staircase way more than I love Old Clock.
Same.
I think it's better. So I would absolutely assume as well that House on a Cliff is better than Tower Treasure. So, and Tower Treasure was pretty good.
Tower Treasure was fun, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm just thinking about Joe Hardy, and I want to be Joe Hardy's girlfriend, even though I'm married.
And he's 17.
And fictional.
Yeah, fictional. That's the first barrier.
Right. He doesn't actually exist. It's kind of the biggest problem with the whole situation. But
oh, wow.
Oh,
well.
he's so funny. He's just so funny.
He is.
I love the funny ones.
Hey, Moon.
Funny ones, the sweet ones, the slowly, deeply pining ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway. No, I don't have anything else to say about Double Crossing. It's great. Read it. I love it.
Flashlight score?
Honestly, 4.8.
Yeah?
4.7. 4.7.
Okay.
Because I do get really annoyed at some of the obviously the sexual assault, just like totally unnecessary. And I think the writing. The writing is in the middle, especially. It gets kind of dicey to me. But overall, I honestly can't complain about it so much. I can't complain about it very much because the rest of it is just so good. I feel like it really balances the scales in the favor of good versus bad, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I would read it 5 more times.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
So if I would read it 5 more times, then it gets close to 5 flashlights.
Yeah. That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. Think about how many times you'd be willing to reread it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. Some of these then we're getting to like 40 flashlights. So, you know.
That's true.
I'm just kidding. But,
what about you?
Yeah. I want it to be a 5. I really do. Because it was such a fun read. I loved reading it. It flew by, honestly. But I agree. I was thinking probably like a 4.75, somewhere in there, just because of the sexism and the assault and all that. And yeah.
Okay.
All right, but it's a good one. 4.75,
4.8
4.8 is still a really respectable score. So.
Absolutely, it is. Oh my god, though, Kori!
Oh my gosh,
so excited for what's next. I'm so excited for it that I've actually already finished it because I started it and I was like, oh, I'll finish it later, you know, after we finish recording this episode or whatever. Could not put it down.
Oh yeah,
read it in one sitting.
Actually, we have 2 reasons to be excited about our next episode.
We do have 2 reasons excited. So first of all, I'll just say we are going back to the graphic novels. In general, we kind of want to do a block about the Girl Detective graphic novel series, but actually for this first one, we are going to be covering Nancy Drew Vampire Slayer. Which is technically a separate series, but it was published around the same time as those. It's so good.
I'm so excited to read it.
It's so good. So we're excited to cover that. Obviously, Nancy Drew Vampire Slayer, what? I think I remember the first time you told me about this. And I was like, oh, that sounds really weird. That's got to be so weird. I could not be more pleased.
Oh, good.
with what I've read. So that's the exciting thing, number 1. But number 2, the other exciting thing, do you want to say, Kori?
Yes, we are going to be joined by a guest. Actually, this guest is the person who asked that we cover this book. And we're like, well, you have to come back because it is Doc Wyatt.
Yes.
He joined us before for a diary, The Magician's Secret, if you caught that episode. But we absolutely love talking to him. He's so much fun. And actually, we have never gotten so many requests for a guest to return. We got messages after that episode that was like, if you don't have Doc back immediately, I'm coming to find you. Not really. No, I'm kidding. But no, people were like, please, he's so funny, so entertaining. Please bring him back. And he was more than happy to agree to come back for this one. So he's going to join us for that one. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. And like, what a one to join us on. He was 100% right. We must talk about this.
Yes.
Kori hasn't read it yet. And I have to like hold myself back from telling her everything about this graphic novel because there's just, first of all, okay, I want to start talking about it, but I can't start talking about it. So I will refrain and you'll just have to tune in next time, regular Drews.
Yes.
We'll see you later.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Regular Nancy Drew. If you like this episode, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Email us at regularnancydrew@gmail.com.
You can also visit our website, regularnancydrew.com, and also follow us on Instagram at regularnancydrew.
You can also support us on Patreon. Patrons at the $3 level vote on upcoming episode topics and get exclusive access to our Scoop Sesh series.
And all patrons receive early access to each episode as well as weekly bonus content.
And to all you regular Drews out there, thanks for listening.